Who are you?
Society has progressed. People are rediscovering technologies. I am the queen of the wasteland. Fear me, and behold, as I control fire.
What do you want me to do?
I want you to spin me a yarn, the likes of which I have never heard.
No, me no spin yarn, me no do that, no.
Well, what do you suggest that we do then?
Well, me weave tapestry, likes of which I've never seen before.
No, I do not like that either.
Oh, maybe, me lead you on a merry dance, the likes of which you have never seen before.
Yes, because we are all
Stuck at home! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are all stuck at home, but we're keeping our sense of humour, aren't we? So, buckle your shoes, roll down your socks, and get ready to dance a merry dance with us. Right, here we go. Well, it's the first section of the show, ladies and gents, boys and girls. It's time to show you some circus skills. Now, this week, Penny is going to show us how to do a few tricks with some poi and how to start out with poi. I know for a fact that this is going to take up a little bit of space, isn't it? So I'm going to step backstage and leave you with Penny, and she's going to give you a bit of a demo and then a bit of an instructional. Okay?
lovely.
Take it away, Penny.
See you later, Rob. Okay, so poi is an art form that comes from the Maori people of New Zealand. They would often spin poi while they were storytelling, and that's where this art form comes from. They usually use two different types of poi, either really short ones that are maybe 20 centimetres long, or long ones, which can go up to about 1 metre long. Now, if you want to try this at home, you don't necessarily need to buy a poi set, you can make your own. All you need is a length of string that when you hold it in your hand and stick your hand out to the side, the end is about where your knee is, that kind of length. So you can swing it around without it hitting the floor when it does its downswing. Now, if you don't have any string or anything to tie onto the end of the string, a good pair of long socks is always a good option if you put something soft and squishy in the end of the socks, because you will, and trust me on this, you will hit yourself, sometimes in the shoulder and sometimes in the head. So you want to make sure that whatever you put in the socks or whatever you tie to the end of your string is nice and soft and squidgy. A poi is all about maintaining a swing, just like this. And some people do it with just the one. And they like to do things like this. Do it out in front of them, or sometimes above their head, but I'm not going to do it in here because our studio ceiling's a little bit low. Some people like to do it with two. There we go. Lovely. Now, basic principles of poi is just to basically swing the ball all the way to the end of your string and keep it going while you're moving it around. Now, if you want to start with one, do it off to the side. I'm going to turn to my side so you can see. Just swing it around using its own momentum. You don't have to do a huge amount of work, but you want to try and make sure that it stays parallel to your body, so that at the bottom, if I turn to the side this way, you see it's not coming in to try and hit me in the leg, and it's not leaning in to try and hit me in the head either. Going to keep it nice and level like this. You might want to rotate your wrist a little bit if it's not quite doing what you want it to. And sometimes you can also use your fingers and the way that you're holding it just to alter how it spins. You're just going to have to play around with it a little bit until you get it to do what you want to do. And once you've got it going nicely one way, you want to see if you can get it going the other way as well. Now, the longer you have your string, the more likely it is to hit the floor or hit the ceiling, but the slower it will be able to go. The shorter your string, the faster it'll go. So bear that in mind when you come to start playing around with doing all kinds of tricks and things. Now once you've got one going quite nicely, you want to see if you can bring in a second one. Now this is where usually your rhythm and your coordination comes into play, because you have to keep one hand going while you're concentrating on what the other hand's doing as well. There you go. If you find that they're coming in front of you a bit, just try and bring your arms out a bit more. Pinch your shoulder blades at the back a bit, and make sure that your arms are sticking out of your sides, like this. They're not coming forward, and they're not reaching too far behind you either. Lovely. Now once you've managed to get two swinging at the same time, you've basically found the foundation of a poi routine, because now you have 4 different variations of what you want to do. You can have both poi swinging forward, going at the same rate, so they're both hitting the top of their circle at the same time, and they're both hitting the bottom of their circle at the same time. Or you can have them offset. So one's hitting the top of their circle as the other's hitting the bottom, and vice versa. If I show you at the side, 2 going forward at the same time, 2 going out of phase of each other, that's what they call it. Now if you want to try and make one go out of phase with the other while you're still spinning, you're going to give one of your hands a bit of a wiggle just to get it out of time of the other. You see how my left hand, if I put them back in phase, my left hand kind of does a little rise and a dip. It just speeds it up a little bit and gets it out of time with the other. See? Now once you've got 2 forwards, you can also do, of course, 2 backwards. 2 backwards, out of phase with each other. And of course there's nothing stopping you doing 1 forwards and 1 backwards. But I find that a little bit like trying to pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time. So sometimes I get a little bit confused, but let's see if I can do this. So. There we go. See, it takes a little bit of concentration. It's one of those things that if you concentrate too much though, it all falls apart. Cool. So this is one of those things that you can try inside if your strings are short enough. See if I've wrapped around my hands a couple of times to make them short enough for our studio space here. This is also something that you can do outside if the weather's nice. Then you'll have plenty of space to swing things around to your heart's content. Now then, once you've got 2 swinging around, you might want to see if you can try making one go across your body. And at that point, you can start walking around with your poi and see if they'll change direction with you. And what I mean by this, we start off with 1, make it swing one way. In this instance, I've got my right hand going forward. Now see if you can make it go across your body so it's swinging to your left, like so. Now the confusing thing about this, and the thing that you'll have to practice, is that even though the poi is still swinging the same way, in that it's doing its down point in front of you, you see? It's going down while it's in front of you. Your wrist is doing the opposite motion. Your wrist is turning one way on this side, and as it crosses over to the other side of my body, it's doing the other motion. Now this is all about timing and coordination. You want to wait until the poi is just passing the top of your head before you make your move to go across. And it's making a diagonal movement. There you go. I slowed it down a little bit so you could see. There we go. Your hand, I tend to have my hand with the palm facing up when I do this. And as I cross it in front of my body, my palm ends up face down. So that might be something helpful for you to think about as you do it. Just about timing and not being afraid to get hit by it as well. So my palm's up, and as it comes across the front of my body, my hand switches over. It's suddenly spinning the other way, but the poi is now on my left side and still looks like it's spinning in the same direction it was on the other. There we go. And then you can start doing it one after the other like this. There we go. Lovely. Now once you've started to get those moves, you can see if you can do a 360-degree spin while doing your poi. And what I mean by this, so if I'm facing this way, I can do that cross the body spin and turn myself, so now it's spinning in front of me. And if I turn to the left, now I'm going to have to try and cross it over my body again if I want to carry on my spin. So I just have to wait. This time the poi is going in a different direction, so I'm going to have to wait until it's just past my feet. Whoop. There we go. And now I can complete my turn. Lovely. Now, once you've got one hand going, you see if you can get both hands going on, and that's when you get some really interesting routines going on. So there we go. That is the essence of poi. So I hope you're able to make some yourself and give it a go in the comfort of your own home.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Penny. That was
Quite
really
welcome.
interesting.
Thank you.
Really, really interesting. And I do really hope that some of you give that a go. Get on our social media and let us know how you got on. If you've made your own sets of poi, take a photo and post it in the comments on the bottom of this video. We'd really love to see it. Okay, I think it's time for us to go get ready for our story.
Story time!
Story time, guys! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Yes, it is my favourite time of the show again. It's time for our story. But today's story is set on the Yorkshire moors. A wild and windswept place. A place of deep heather and bracken that in the winter is coarse and scratches at your legs. But in summer, that same heather is purple and beautiful. That same bracken is green and lush. Well, this story is set in a time when thatch covered roofs. In a time when light was by oil lamp and candle alone. A time when wind whipped high up on those moorlands and rain lashed down, but only on the worst of days. Other days the sun beat down radiant and strong and warmed all bodies all around. In this time and in this place there was a woman. She lived in a small village in those Yorkshire moors. She wanted adventure. She wanted adventure more than she wanted anything else, for she had lived her whole life in that same village. And so one day she took her knapsack and she unfolded it on the floor. She considered all of her life's possessions. And she chose the barest few. The few that she knew she just couldn't live without, because she was going on an adventure. She was going to set out into the wide, wide world and discover things that she had never seen before. She would roam the countryside thereabouts. And there was a lot of countryside, because those Yorkshire moors were so big and so expansive. Her dearest things she put into that knapsack, and carefully she folded the fabric one on top of the other and tied it in a tight, tight knot. There had been a staff laid up in the corner of her cottage for so many years now. She took it and laid it on that knapsack and tied the bundle firmly to it, so that she wouldn't lose a single thing. And when she was on her travels, she could take out those precious possessions and look at them one by one and be reminded of where she came from. But right now, that young woman sought adventure. As night fell, the woman had been walking for so long now, so long that her feet hurt. She could feel the blisters, and her knapsack, small as it was, felt heavy on her back. she crossed the precipice of a moor. And down on the other side she could see a deep, deep valley. And in that valley there was a village, not unlike the one that she had left. But this village was shrouded in mists. Deep and cloying mists like phantasms in the air, the like of which she had never seen before. She peered through those wisping shapes, casting shadows on the floor behind her, like things she had never witnessed in her life. And a shiver ran down her spine. There, walking through the village, was a dog, massive and fierce-looking, with an ethereal glow that, try as she might, the woman could never fathom, whether it be from moonlight or from the oil lamps in the windows of the houses all about. As she watched, chilled to the bone now, unable to tear her eyes away from that ethereal hound, it padded to a house and stepped through the door, although the door itself remained closed. Moments later, it reappeared, a man at its side, a man bathed in cool blue light. They walked to the street's end and disappeared into a wisp of nothingness. Rage gripped the woman's soul. Had this dog taken the man's life? Taken him down to the depths of hell below? She felt as much. And angry as she was, she just couldn't let this thought go. The moon set and the sun rose the next morning, and the woman woke. Although sun was little to be had that day. The mist still clung heavy in the air, and as she looked down to the village below, she could see the wailing of women and children outside that house, the relatives of the man who had been taken, and she resolved that she would get to the bottom of the goings-on therein. As the evening came once more, she saw padding down that street that ethereal hound, dark and strong and fierce. Once more it went into a house, although the door be still barred, and she began to run. She ran as fast as she could, down the hill and into that valley. The woman raced down the side of the valley, her heart beating in her chest and fury gripping her soul. She was so angry. She tore into the street and skidded to a halt in front of that great ephemeral dog, and she yelled at the top of her lungs,
"Let that child go!"
But it was too late. The boy vanished into a cloud of nothingness, like steam leaving a pan. The great dark dog looked up into her eyes, and she was more angry than anger could be. She reached out and struck the hound, and he retaliated as though through instinct alone. But the woman was equal to the dog's onslaught, and she easily overpowered it.
Where do you take those people? Why do you do this?
It's my purpose. It's my lot in life. Don't you see? I am the dog of Burgest. I am the dog of the graveyard. I am the dog of the dead. Ages ago, in aeons past, that people would bury a dog such as myself in a gravesite. The first to be buried in a gravesite cannot go to the afterlife themselves, and so are condemned to guide those other lost souls to where they belong. They would not bury a human and condemn them to this. And so they bury a dog like me. And it is my lot in my afterlife to act in this way, to take those who have departed so sadly and be their companion on their journey through the mists of Anwin, of the other world. The adventuresome woman was overwrought by her misunderstanding. She had completely misconstrued what this great dog was doing, and she couldn't bear it. She vowed that night that she would no longer allow the dog to walk this journey on its own. She would take that adventure with it. The ultimate adventure. In the morning, when the moon had set and the sun rose, the villagers came out, distraught at another death in the village. They saw footprints in the mud of the road. One set a great dog, the other set an adventuresome woman, now a companion for life. You know, Penny, when we were performing that story then, something really hit home with me. So I've always felt that deep down in my heart, you know, my heart of hearts, in the pit of my stomach, that really I've always been a giant ghost dog. That always.
You know what? I can totally see that.
Oh.
I 100% believe you. I mean, in that last story just then, there was no more Rob. It was just Hound of Burgess. I can really see that about you. That was a transformation. That was a complete shape shifting. Some might say even a masterclass in becoming. You know, just.
And you know what? You know what, Pen? I feel like you were born to play a vagrant.
Oh.
You know, nowhere to call home, no possessions to your name, just nothing. That you were born for vagrancy.
Oh, you know, that's really nice. That's such a nice thing to say. Oh, that reminds me, actually.
Yeah.
Someone else that's done something nice for us.
Oh, yeah?
Well, you remember when all the power stations went...
Enough said, yeah.
Yeah, when all that kind of kicked off. Well, there was a lot of uranium-236 knocking around.
Of
Do you remember?
course. Yeah,
all
I
those little
remember,
glowing piles.
Yeah.
Well, you remember the warlord, just the one that lives down the hill, the, what's his name?
Fred.
Fred! Yes,
Yeah.
the one that wears the skulls.
Yeah, the skulls on the... yes.
Well,
Such a funny guy.
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to show you.
Oh, okay. I mean, I can't wait to see what Fred's got for us, because he's always making these crazy little,
Look at this! He gathered up some of the uranium and made us a little shielded box for it. And look at that, now we've got a little radioactive, thingy.
Is that safe?
Oh, I'm sure it's perfectly fine. And I thought, seeing as you did such a good job being the dog, that you might want to, you hold that now and,
Kind of makes your teeth tingle, doesn't it?
you have fun with that, okay?
Yeah? I mean, Fred made it, so, but, got this funny copper taste in my mouth. I'm just gonna pop that down there and, yeah. What have you got?
Mystery meat.
Mmm.
It's good. I think. About you?
Badger.
Oh, badger. Never had badger before. What's it like?
Gamey.
Gamey?
Gamey.
Gamey.
We've had a great time today, haven't we, Pen?
Just the best.
We've had a really good time. Even the badger's not too bad. But it would really help us out if you would consider donating to our cause. We don't mind the post-apocalyptic lifestyle, but a few shiny baubles, maybe some polished amber, would really go a long way to helping us out. Something to trade. So if you could go to www.paypal.me/Strange-Twig and pledge to us just a small amount of your precious minerals, we'd really, really appreciate it. It would really help.
That would mean the world.
Thanks to those who have already donated. Those funny little discs of metal that people used to use for trade and commerce, we've managed to swap them for something far more worthwhile. A warm feeling in our hearts. Badger.
Oh, and another one now. Rob, we got any 2-day-old coyote? That's my favourite. Rob? Rob, you better not be getting at that coyote.